Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you'll be listening to. On today's episode, the go-home show to AEW All In went down last night. Dynamite, anyways. They also filmed an episode of Collision. And
yeah.
Did they also do a Rampage last night?
No, Rampage was shot after Collision on Saturday, I think.
They did like the whole like old school Nitro Thunder thing where you're shooting stuff completely totally out of
Tony
order.
Khan had to get the whiteboard out, just like Kevin Nash did.
No. Wow.
Yeah.
Confirmed a whiteboard was used. Anyways, we're going to talk about AEW All In and the big changes that were made thanks to Dynamite. Probably some more changes made on Collision. Do we have updates on what's... Oh, yeah. Well, no, this morning there was an additional match added.
Yeah, it wasn't anything that happened on Collision. It was an announcement made on the AEW Unrestricted podcast. Where Tony,
is that what it's called?
Announced that we're getting Jack Perry versus Hook during 0 hour.
There we go. Right now, our predictions are available over at the Friendo Club Wrestling channel, so be sure to go check those out. They just went up this morning. We had to refill them because of all the stuff that happened on Dynamite. We were like, we'll just do it before Dynamite.
I had them all done. They were done. They were uploaded. They were ready to go. But then 2 new matches, new participants.
Happens. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk about last night's Dynamite. We also have some news to dive into, including one of our favorite AEW superstars and what his status is like with the company. Let's go ahead and dive into it. We're talking about Keith Lee today, Larson. Is that right?
We are talking about Keith Lee. So yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, Steve. I saw this rumor kind of alluded to without seeing it in full.
Yeah, same.
But there was a rumor going around on social media that Keith Lee had left and or walked out of AEW last week. Well, Fightful Select looked into the story and debunked it. Debunked. Stating that the basis of the rumor was a miscommunication between Keith Lee and the company. Sources told Fightful that Lee was in attendance at last week's Dynamite and Rampage tapings, was informed wasn't going to be used during the tapings, and then left the arena, which, as Fightful notes, quote, often happens when people are told they aren't needed for the show. Well, it turns out that Lee was actually booked for Rampage following Dynamite, but no one informed him prior to him leaving the venue. Apparently no heat on Keith Lee, just one of those things. He actually had he has a match on Collision this week.
Okay.
So much ado about nothing.
Yeah.
It's one of those things I got out there, kind of got blown out of proportion. But it is odd that if you have Keith Lee in the building and he's like traveling every week and he's there and available, that you don't book him for a match.
They should, number one, they need to employ some sort of Microsoft Teams or Slack channel, perhaps, to like let people know this is what you're going to be on this week before they even like board the plane.
That seems odd. That's like not the norm.
Do they have like a whiteboard that just was like accidentally somebody walked past it and erased his name from Rampage?
Maybe, but you'd think like, if you have to, I think, I don't know where Keith Lee lives for sure. I know he's billed from Texas, so I assume he lives in Texas.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I don't remember where Dynamite was last week, but let's say it was one of the Canadian shows, and he had to fly from Texas to Canada.
Yeah.
International travel.
Yeah.
Shows up at Regina, the show there.
Right
only
in the
to find
middle of
out
Regina. Yeah.
I'm not booked for the show.
Yeah.
And so, I guess you could sit around and watch the show and
have some popcorn,
whatnot, or you just go back to the hotel and then wait for the morning and then you fly back home.
He wants to get in one of those hotel cranks, man.
Is that a thing?
I don't know. It just sounded funny.
Just book a hotel room just to do that?
Well, he's got a hotel room for the show. For the show.
You don't book a hotel room just okay. I misunderstood.
I don't know.
So but you hear about. I think one of the things I heard about like the Good Brothers deal was like if they're not booked for the show, they don't have to go.
That was in WWE, man.
No, I know, but that
and I think that was like a special deal, though. I think that was like a special deal.
I think it was. But that infers that it's a regular thing where you go and you travel to a city and you're not on the show.
I know. It's weird. I don't get it either. Maybe it's like, oh, we need to be prepared in case somebody, goes out, then we'll have some people here available.
Yeah, I imagine
that can fill their spot. Keith Lee is an interesting case, and I have made sure to sort of like not. I sort of don't include Keith Lee when we regularly bitch about AEW not properly using particular wrestlers because he had that big health scare like a while ago. Yeah. And so he's the sort of situation where it's mind blowing if they're not using him like if he's available.
Yeah,
completely, you know, but the fact that he said publicly that he had a big health scare, and you know, if you're a wrestler, wrestling, the industry, that does a number on your body.
It does,
so
yeah.
maybe the health scare is why they put him in a tag team, so it lightened his load a little. And this is me purely speculating, and I just want the best for the dude. If they legitimately have 100% Keith Lee that they're not using every single week and on both episodes like Dynamite and Collision, then I don't know. Then they are more inept than I kind of already think they are sometimes.
Yeah.
But so I've left him out because he talked about the health thing, and I'm like, you know, there are some things that we don't know about, and it's his private info, and maybe that's the reason why. And I don't want to criticize a company for not using a guy if there's like a health issue potentially there. I'm not going to be like, oh, how dare they not do that?
No, yeah, that's completely understandable. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So anyways, Keith Lee and AEW, but I would kind of imagine, right, that that's sort of maybe why the rumor picked up some steam, because he hasn't really been seen a lot. And so, you know, the idea that, he walked out on this show.
Yeah, he got fed up for not being used and walked out. Yeah.
Right. It wouldn't be shocking if that was the case. You know, it's like if Kenny Omega walks out, it's like, why? You're used all the time. Like, you're the guy.
And you're one of the executive vice presidents. That's more than just a wrestler walking out.
That's strange. Yeah.
It would be strange.
Yeah.
Also, something else that'd be strange, Steve, seeing Adam Copeland in AEW.
Adam Copeland is all elite.
All elite. You know him, you think? So earlier this week, Fightful Select report that there was some within AEW believe there was a possibility that Edge could join the company once the WWE deal expired at the end of September. Well, yesterday, PW Torch reported that WWE had actually turned down an opportunity to re-sign the Rated R superstar, stating, quote, PW Torch has learned that Copeland presented WWE what it would take to retain his services, and WWE declined to meet his request. This has sparked a belief with the WWE that he is probably headed to AEW and knew at that time what AEW could offer him. But Edge took to Twitter, posted a video there, disputing PW Torch's report, saying that he's got no beef with WWE. He never made any crazy contract demands. WWE never denied him, and that he's got an extension in his inbox right now, but he's just not sure, as he put it, what to do.
He's going to go to All Elite, baby. I believe this one, man. I think he's going. And here's the thing. When it comes to Edge's future in wrestling, believe the opposite of what he's saying. And actually, what's funny is that with what he's saying, I watched the first like 30 seconds of the video. I'm like, why am I watching this? Because back in December of 2019, he was, what's the word, vehemently?
Yeah.
Denying up, down, left, and right that he wasn't coming back. And you know what? That's cool. Jericho does the same shit because they like the big surprises. Mm-hmm. They're showmen. They're old school.
They are,
and they're not gonna let Joe Blow in on what's going on. I don't know. He's sitting there with his little coffee mug. He's not gonna tell Steve here what he's gonna be doing with his career. And in fact, to make sure that my entertainment value, the value for my time to watch AEW is going to be maximized by the surprise of Adam Copeland showing up in AEW, he's going to misdirect me.
Yeah.
So
he's going to lie to you. That's what he's doing. He's lying to you.
Yeah. That's such a harsh word. It's 3 letters, but it's very harsh. But I mean, if you think about what he's saying here, he says, okay, he's got no beef with WWE. That could totally be true. And the report could be true. Yeah. He never made any crazy contract demands. That could be true, and the reporting could still be true.
Because here's the thing. Let me do a sidebar here real quick. If the reports and Drew has says there is some truth to the reports that he about him in the contract negotiations with WWE, especially with WWE's merger with Endeavor still not final, they just might not want to be spending tons of money right now. And Edge is going to be an expensive person to re-sign.
Right. Yeah, no.
So he could just be like, hey, I want the same thing I got last time, plus maybe like a few extra days. Like, no, we can't. We're not going to do that. That's entirely possible.
Yeah, and he says WWE never denied him, and he's got maybe they didn't deny him, but they countered him with like something else. And he says he's got an extension in his box right now, which actually could very well be true as well.
It could be the counteroffer, in fact.
So the reporting on this could completely be true, and what Edge is saying could completely be true as well. whether or not, he should or will go to AEW or whatever is, I guess, a conversation for another day. Edge isn't like my favorite dude in the world, but whatever makes him happy, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily feel like he adds a lot to the product when I watch it. Don't dislike him. I don't really feel like he adds a ton.
There are other people in AEW that I'm like really excited to see. I'm like, oh,
Christian,
cool,
right?
Oh man, I like Christian these days. I think he's doing phenomenal work, man.
He is. He's doing great work.
It's a little sensitive right now with the Nick Wayne stuff. Keep Christian away from me for sure. That'd be not ideal for my current situation.
Yeah, I guess not.
I'm sorry. Because, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, that son of a bitch, Christian. What the hell, man? That hurt. That one hurts, buddy.
Yeah.
that one hurts. But yeah, I don't know. Would it be cool? Would it be fun to see him with Christian? Sure. If Edge was like a bad guy or something, that could be fun.
That's what I was going to get to. If the situation where Edge comes in and they just want him to be Adam Copeland, it's going to have to be because WWE owns the name Edge. So I guess maybe it could be Edgy Adam Edge, Adam Copeland, whatever.
Adam Edge, yeah.
Something, whatever. And they want to do Edge and Christian. Guess what? It's not like Edge is going to be a heel with Christian. No, that's not going to happen. Christian has to turn face, and that sounds boring.
Yeah, it sounds really boring. I don't want to see that at all. It would be a feud between I'll be honest, like Copeland showing up and Christian. Somebody noted on Edge's Wikipedia page that he's never known his dad. Like his dad was like, I guess and I just saw this on Twitter, so if it's not true, I apologize. But like Edge's dad was not present and so that could be kind of funny. But I don't know if they keep Christian like a real son of a bitch like he is now, and that plays off of modern, midlife crisis Edge.
Yeah,
there could be some really fun stuff there.
There could be. Yeah, there could be. Before we get into Dynamite, I guess we should definitely mention this. Got news yesterday. Terry Funk, pro wrestling legend, hardcore wrestling icon.
Yeah.
One of the best to ever do it.
Oh, yeah.
Passed away at the age of 79. I mean, there's countless memories to share. But I will never forget. This is such a random one. I will never forget. Like, I've seen his barbed wire match with Sabu. I've seen like a lot of his death stuff in Japan, including the stuff with Mick Foley.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But for whatever reason, I will never forget when we discovered that he had an album.
Oh yeah,
in your office, and we started listening to it.
Yeah, Terry. Yeah, and it charted in Japan. It did well in Japan.
It did.
Yeah, and he's Barbara Streisand's Nose.
Oh, it's spectacular.
That song was on it. Yeah, it was really good. I listened to it all on like one of my WrestleJuice streams. I'm sorry, MF Steve here streams. And it's phenomenal. Sean Ross Sapp had a great tweet yesterday, apparently in between lines of cocaine, because he does that on stream now. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the funny. There was like during one of the Fightfuls, like the AEW I think recap last night.
Yeah.
Sean had to blow his nose. He had to get rid of some, and so he did it off camera like this. He went like that, right?
Yeah.
If I didn't know him better, and if I thought he might be dumb enough to do cocaine on camera, it kind of looks like it. But he's, because of all the trolls out there, they're giving him all sorts of. So I feel bad for the guy.
Oh, I do too.
I love Sean. He's absolutely great, and
Sean's great.
And he had a great tweet about Terry Funk, and he said, and he said, depending on when you started watching wrestling, you would have a completely different viewpoint on Terry Funk. You and I started watching wrestling in college. I think you might have been more sort of exposed to his work around college, right? Yeah.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, I knew him. Yeah, I think the first time I saw Terry Funk or had any recognition of him was Chainsaw Charlie in WWF, and I was like, oh. And then I understood he was like a deathmatch guy. And then, later on you find out that he was like, NWA World's Champion famously, 20 years prior to that or whatever. The guy brought hardcore wrestling to the United States there in Texas, and the Japanese promotions there were influenced by that. And then,
Onita went to stay with Terry Funk.
Yeah, exactly. And it came back to ECW, and, an absolute unmitigated legend in the sport, just in every way, shape, or form. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I double checked 'cause I thought Terry was on the card. He was in fact on the card for WrestleMania 2. In a tag match.
Yeah.
And that's probably the first time I ever saw him.
Was he with Dory? Was he with his brother?
Yeah, I think Dory was Haas Funk back then.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, an absolute legend. Obviously, we'd all, heard the reports about, his health issues. He was like 79 years old, I think. But yeah, no, super sad. I'm really looking forward to Meltzer's write up on Terry Funk. I know he was close.
Extensive.
He was close with him, and I know this affected him greatly. And Funk really, I'm sorry, Meltzer really is. He is the foremost historian in terms of pro wrestling. Say what you will about how you feel about his opinions on modern wrestling or star ratings or whatever. In terms of being a historian, he's basically unmatched.
Yeah.
And so this week's Observer, if it happens this week or next week or whatever, is going to be like, worth the price of admission alone. Just that one write-up is going to be really good.
Really is. We could dive into Dynamite. I guess the most noteworthy thing is all the changes. And like Tony Khan said, there was going to be changes during the media call for All In.
Yeah, man.
And there were changes aplenty. We've got some new matches. We've got some changes to matches. New matches booked, claimed, plus the returning badass Billy Gunn.
Not Billy Gunn, not Daddy Ass.
Not Daddy Ass, badass Billy Gunn. They're taking on House of Black for the Trios titles. And the claim that Billy Gunn are going to win those Trios titles. We got Jack Perry defending the FTW title against Hook during 0 Hour.
Yeah.
Santana and Ortiz made their return.
Well, Santana made his return.
I guess technically
also...
Ortiz. Santana made his return from injury.
Right, correct. Yeah.
Ortiz made his return from...
Purgatory?
Sabbatical.
Not being on TV.
So they're back. They're the fourth and fifth members of Blackpool Combat Club's team for Stadium Stampede. Phoenix was written out of the match, so it's just going to be a 5-on-5 deal as opposed to 6-on-6.
Yeah. And
then this one was a bit head-scratching, and I'm guessing this was done because there were some issues with travel or something. AR Fox, after taking the pin to Nick Wayne in this awesome tornado tag match, that match was tons of fun.
It was great.
Was fired from Mogul Embassy and is therefore out of the coffin match at All In. Christian is going to team with Swerve at All In this match now. And it's a bummer. Hopefully this is just some roundabout Swerve to like if Darby wins the TNT title at All Out from Luchasaurus, and then Swerve can set it up so he's next, gets a title shot, and then AR Fox costs Darby the match. All right. Otherwise, this is a bit of a head scratcher because you could say, all right, AR Fox, for whatever reason, you're out of the match. Do another injury angle like they did with Phoenix. I don't know. But I thought AR Fox with Swerve was so awesome.
Yeah.
And their pairing worked so well.
Yeah.
That is a bummer if, in fact, it has come to an end.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. I thought he added instantly just by being with Swerve and what Swerve is doing right now. Taking full advantage. I got to read this Uproxx article on Swerve. I have not yet, but
the interview with him.
Yeah, the interview with him. Yeah. But I want to see what it says because it does seem like at this point, we've often talked about the creative freedom that wrestlers have in AEW, which can be, a blessing or a curse. If you're somebody who knows how to network, if you're somebody who can get in tight with Tony or the Young Bucks or Kenny or whoever, then it might benefit you. And they'll give you a lot of leeway. But if you're not that kind of personality, it's not going to work for you. That's why a lot of people haven't really found their footing, I think. But seemingly Swerve has found a way to really take advantage. He's on TV all the time. Yeah. He pointed out today, on Twitter, he's on one of the his picture's on one of the buses, and it's awesome because he is that guy.
He is.
And just aligning with him, AR Fox being with him, and what it sort of unlocked with him in the short amount of time that he was there was infinitely better than sort of the empty persona that he was before. And I do hope that storyline, it's a Swerve, so to speak, and that he'll stay with the Embassy. And I don't know what they have planned. I mean, the TNT title does change hands a lot. So if it is a matter of Darby Allin getting his hands back on that title to revisit Swerve so that Swerve can get that title, then and AR Fox stays with him, I'm about it. I think that's awesome. Because otherwise I'm not sure that AR Fox is going to find like his own path being his own guy in AEW. I didn't see it before and I'm not sure that I would see it now. They didn't establish him so much that I could see a storyline with him or him putting himself into his own storyline. Yeah. So the best place for him to be is with the Mogul Embassy, and I'd love to see him back there. Yeah. A little curious if that's not what this is. A weird way to write him out.
It is. Vermillion here says mentions Fox and Swerve, obviously beating up Nick Wayne at his garage, where the wrestling ring was at and stuff 2-3 weeks ago, and then Darby just like says, "Hey, water under the bridge, AR Fox."
It's all good, yeah.
And gives him a hug. And I saw. I apologize for not remembering who mentioned this on Twitter this morning when I saw it. That it would be interesting if they started booking Darby like Sting was booked at WCW, where, let's be honest, Sting was super gullible.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And he was constantly getting swerved by people.
Yeah.
In WCW, twice by Ric Flair, I think. And hey, are you a member of Four Horsemen situations?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, it would be interesting if Darby, if for the stretch here for a bit, that was their approach with Darby, and then hey, where is that going to lead?
It could be also really interesting. Again, these are the kind of things where sometimes the fantasy book might be a bit more fun with what they eventually do, but they could kind of have their cake and eat it too. What if they use this moment from last night to get Nick Wayne away from Darby and into the Mogul Embassy as sort of their Dom Mysterio, let's bring this guy in just to manipulate him, just for the power trip, just to manipulate Darby basically, and say, hey, look, how quickly did Darby re-embrace AR Fox after what he did to you? Yeah. So come over to the Mogul Embassy, and Nick, being young, okay, he goes over there, and then it turns out that AR Fox is just a big swerve, and he goes back to the embassy as well. Yeah. But Wayne's already there, and he's not going to change that up. Nope. And so you've got all these guys against Darby, and Darby's got, he's vulnerable now because he's like, Nick has obviously been, coerced and manipulated. Yeah. Now I gotta beat him up. Like that's terrible. So
that'd be good stuff, but I'm not getting my hopes up that's going to happen.
Yeah, I know. Well,
it's really good, in fact. You never know. Because like when Darby said last night, it's like, hey, Fox, I'm paraphrasing. I don't care what you did to me.
Right, but Wayne's right there.
You weren't the one that was left bleeding in your own wrestling ring in your garage, Darby.
They beat him so bad they had to put his passcode in instead of FaceTime because his face was so messed up. Somebody pointed that out on Twitter, and I was like, that is such a great. Oh, the phone doesn't recognize your face because you're so that was messed up.
That is messed up.
That is good stuff.
That is messed up. Otherwise, Dynamite, a lot of talking last night. This has kind of been a common theme with Dynamite, which I guess in a sense. Listen, I understand my situation watching wrestling shows for the most part is unique. Most people don't have to sit and take notes and transcribe promos. I get that. Yeah.
I just sit there. I just, burn farts into my couch while I'm watching, man. That's the only note taking I'm doing.
What, do you actually keep tabs of like the duration and the odor of your farts during that?
Yeah.
I'd be curious to do you like track that versus what you eat?
Yeah, I got a whole Excel spreadsheet on it. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. That's
send
good research
pictures.
there for
two
science.
Pictures. You want pictures?
I don't need pictures.
I'll send pictures.
Well, I guess for the sake of science, I guess it's got to be all or nothing, right?
Oh yeah, you're in.
Yeah. So I guess if they're put more emphasis on telling stories and they feel like the best way to do that is have a lot of talking.
Yeah.
I guess I'd rather have more stories and more talking than basically no stories and less talking.
Yeah, right. I mean,
I feel like there's a happy medium, though.
We talked about this yesterday on the Ask Steven Larson episode. Somebody asked, what is wrestling the crappiest part of wrestling? It's like, no, you need a good mix. You need all the right ingredients. You need, a good ratio of wrestling to stories to, to interviews to entrances, et cetera, et cetera. And so, I feel you, but I get it also. It's right before the big pay-per-view.
It is.
And so
every story moved, it wasn't like it was talking for the sake of talking.
We learned more from the Cole MJF stuff. We learned
We
more from the a little bit anyways from the Young Bucks and FTR stuff. And so I was fine with that. I totally understand your point of view though. Like, yeah, when it was like a really talky episode, you're going to be sitting there and your, fingers are going to get tired because you're typing and stuff.
Speaking of burning farts in the chair and stuff, that's what
exactly.
I because I'm sitting here for 2.5, 3 hours watching two-hour episode of Dynamite because so much talking. But like I said, I understand my situation is unique. It's not everybody. I'm guessing nobody enjoys wrestling like that. So a handful of people maybe. Anyways, we could jump into it if you like. Show was supposed to kick off with the Elite versus Bang Bang Gang, Bullet Club Gold. However, the Elite attack Bang Bang Gang, the Guns, Juice Robinson, during their entrance. So the match never starts.
Yeah, right.
And so it's just a giant brawl to open the show. Even Rick Knox gets knocked out by Juice Robinson. It all culminates with Takeshita coming to the ring and attacking Kenny Omega. Omega's looking for a one-winged angel on Takeshita. He escapes that. FTR at one point comes out to make the save for the Young Bucks and brawls with Bullet Club Gold in the back, leaving just Kenny and Takeshita in the ring. It's an exciting way to open the show. I didn't think they were going to actually, I should say it's not surprising they didn't give us the match considering that a lot of participants in this match are going to be in a match at All In.
Yeah.
But it's an exciting brawl. AEW loves their brawls, their chaotic brawls, and this was one of those.
Remember when like every episode of Raw, like Triple H's first like month of taking over Raw, it was nothing but brawls.
There was a bunch of pull aparts. Yeah,
it was all just pull aparts. Eventually, he got bored of them. Oh, really? I did 5 pull aparts last week. Okay, I probably need to dial back on that then at the end of the day.
Exactly.
After that, we had it, and boy, Renee was working double time last night.
Oh, she had a lot of. Interviews last night.
A lot of interviews and a lot of people coming at her too, man. Eddie saying, "Get that mic out of my face. You want me to fix this? I don't care, Eddie.
Eddie
I'm gonna go
mic out of his face.
Fix
That's
it
rude."
So, anyways, MJF had an interview. Renee, and it's all babyface stuff. She's like, "What's it gonna be like wrestling in front of 80,000 fans?" And he said his dick's gonna be erect. He says, "British." Yeah, it is. He said, "I'm gonna be real chubbed up. My pants are gonna be tight." He says, let's face it, British people love me. I'm like the 2023 version of British Bulldog if you were Jewish and a good public speaker. He says, and I love you British people too. He says, when it's time for the main event, grab a pint, get pissed, and let's make this the loudest main event in the history of pro sports. He says, cheer for me like I'm the second coming of Churchill. And I promise I'll buy every one of you crazy hooligan alcoholics a pint. She's like, wait, really? He's like, no, I'm going to make that Mark Tony Khan pay for it. So anyways, she talks about, you're going to be opening All In and in the main event, how much pressure is there. And he says, the fact of the matter is there's an immense amount of pressure. He says, this is the most I've ever had in my life, the biggest event in the history of pro wrestling, bar none. And none of this happens without not just my own talent, not just support of the fans, but this doesn't happen without all the people who paved the road for pro wrestling prior. He names a bunch of WWE people: Hogan, Bruno, Dusty, John Cena, Rock, Stone Cold, Triple H, Undertaker. He says, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, and on Sunday, if I win, I might become a giant myself. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure, but I'm ready for it. And then she pivots to the authenticity of his friendship with Adam Cole. And like you said earlier, he's very I think in the predictions episode, he was very diplomatic about this, and he was very, straight about it and sincere about it. Yeah. They do a little video recap. He says, it's vulnerable for me to he says, this is all really new for me. It's vulnerable for me to even say that out loud. I've never had a genuine friend before in my entire life. And that's not me being funny. That's not me trying to work you guys. That's real. And he pauses and he says, Adam's made me a better person in a really short amount of time. He taught me I can trust and I can let my guard down. He's not just my friend. He's my brother. And yeah, brothers fight. Brothers push each other. They're competitive. But at the end of the day, brothers hug it out, and we always hug it out. He says, I understand why you guys would have reservations about trusting me. I'm far from perfect. He says, think about the worst thing you've done in your life, and I've probably done that twice. He says, I've been vulnerable for the first time in my life. And guess what I'm asking you people to do? Go on this journey with me. Be vulnerable with me, and I promise you will be rewarded. And he ends with I'm not just a scumbag. I'm your scumbag. And she wishes him luck. And he says, I can't wait to do it with my best friend.
it was, especially this last bit where you just talked about, is kind of the most important aspect of this whole interview.
Mm-hmm.
Because as when we talk about the Adam Cole interview later on, he's, posed with the same question, has a completely different response.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
This is really good stuff from MJF. It's very babyface, but also felt very genuine.
It did.
Authentic.
It did. And like, are they? So right now we think that Cole is going to turn on him. I mean, you see the interview, and if all the characters are to be believed in what they're saying, well, I'll put it this way. Cole being so defensive about things seems to mean that he's going to end up joining these Strong, Taven, and Bennett and turn on MJF. Is there any chance that defensiveness that we're going to talk about here in a little bit is going to eat at him because he's going to want to do that, but he can't, and MJF is just playing him being so genuine? Are they going overboard with MJF being a real person?
I mean, that's entirely possible. This is the conversation I think we've had a couple times while they've been doing this story. Is
who's going to turn on whom?
What are all the angles here?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen countless times where MJF is trying to befriend somebody he's feuding with or about to feud with, just to manipulate him and use that situation for his own benefit. Is this another situation where that's the case?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they leaning so hard on Adam Cole is going to turn on MJF that that's ultimately a swerve and it's going to happen the other way around, or it's not going to be a swerve?
Yeah.
Don't know. I mean, it seems pretty clear based on what I've seen, probably that Adam Cole is going to cheat to win. He literally said in his interview last night, thanks to MJF, I've reconnected with the real Adam Cole. The real Adam Cole is an absolute scumbag.
He's a piece of shit. Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Chugs is great. Chugs is a really good guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in wrestling stories,
Austin Jenkins is his real name, right?
Right. Yeah. In wrestling storylines,
yes,
Adam Cole is a big piece of crap.
A huge scumbag. Prior to his face turn after coming back from his injury here at AEW, like the entirety of his career, massive scumbag.
Yeah.
So that seems like the real Adam Cole. Like everything they've been doing the last couple of weeks seems to indicate Adam Cole is turning on MJF. But again, that could just be setting us up and then subverting expectations and doing something else.
Yeah.
Don't know.
After that, we had Jon Moxley versus Rey Fenix. Rey Fenix kicked out of like an avalanche, like a super Death Rider. Huh?
Super Death Rider, yeah.
That was crazy.
He got stomped on the floor.
Got stomped on the floor. Mox got a rear choke. Phoenix passes out. Mox gets the win here. So Claudio, and Wheeler Yuta hit the ring with some crowbars. They're about to pull a Jason Todd on him, and then Eddie and Pentagon run out. They're stopped by Ortiz, and it's like, oh, what's he doing out there with his sack of quarters? And then Santana comes.
How come
out.
Ortiz didn't get a Tron?
They really like. This was a really crummy return. It was not well done. You need to do the whole camera's looking at the Tron and it's like, oh, who's that? And then he comes out and it was just, and then Ortiz was just sort of standing there. He just sort of showed up and then they're like, oh, and everybody's like, oh, Santana Ortiz are back. But they did not acknowledge each other. Ortiz happened to swing his sack of whatever he's got.
Sock full of quarters, yeah. Mad ball, isn't that what they call it? Mad ball?
Oh, the mad ball. He swung his mad ball at Pentagon when Santana had Pentagon. But that was they didn't make eye contact. There was no hug. There was no fist bump. If they were back together, they should have made a big production about it. But I kind of feel like they're not back together.
Well, it feels like they might be back together in the short term.
They're coincidentally on the same team.
Yeah, because they both have issues with Eddie,
right?
And Penta, for that matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's this another huge brawl, massive brawl, breaks out, and during the brawl, it ends up that Yuta and Claudio ends up hitting Phoenix with the crowbar.
Yeah.
So the brawl is eventually, clears out, and then all the face team, Penta, Alex, Eddie, so on and so forth, go to check on Phoenix, and Eddie's just he looks like he's about to cry.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know, like Phoenix and Penta, they're his friends. LAX used to be his friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moxley used to be his friends. Never friends with Claudio. Can't stand him.
Can't stand him. Going back to Shikara.
Yeah, I can't stand him for like 15 years. Can't stand him. So they go to commercial as Phoenix is getting put on a stretcher. They come back from commercial and he's getting loaded into an ambulance. Penta, Alex, getting the ambulance with him. It drives off as Eddie and best friends watch on, and then Eddie turns and the camera's like right in his face. Until the camera get out of his face, and then Renee walks up and Eddie's like, "Oh,
yeah,
you saw what your husband did out there? Get this mic out of my face!" And he like smacks the mic out of his face. And Renee's like, "Hey, stop!" And he says, "You want me to fix this?" "Yeah, I'm going to fix it at Wembley."
Yeah, going back to the Santana and Ortiz thing, like, of course, there were reports that there was tension backstage between the two. Like, they didn't want to be a team anymore.
They weren't getting along anymore, yeah.
And, like, I've seen so many people, oh, my God, these reports, that's bullshit. No, dude, look, like, take
body language.
Take one lesson in how humans interact. And you could take a look at these guys. Like, if it was you and you were just coming back from, like, over a year, dude, I would be all over you. I'd be humping your leg, Larson.
Yeah.
I'd be like, get over here, you sack of shit. I love you, man.
Yeah.
And we'd be hugging. Meanwhile, like, the other dudes would be kicking the Blackpool Combat Club's ass, and we'd be hugging there, right?
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, it's so good to see my friend.
Exactly.
They didn't fucking look. I look at these two guys, I'm like, they don't like each other for realsies. So all those reports about that shit was true. No victory laps on that.
It would be the first time that two people who didn't like each other were in a tag team.
I know. And, I guarantee you, I'm not going to say I guarantee you. I don't have any insiders. I'm just saying, if these two guys were like, hey, Tony, so I guess this guy wants to not be a tag team with me anymore. I guess Santana don't want to be in a tag team anymore. He wants to be a singles guy because he's getting like jacked. He's the one who wants to be solo. He's jacked. And Ortiz is like, so, can I just be a solo wrestler? And Tony Khan's like, we got 1 million of those. Like, we've got 2 different tag team divisions, trios and tag. So, no, if you guys want jobs here, you're going to be together. And then Santana's like, oh, my knee.
Early in Stadium Stampede just falls over.
He just falls over. No, I'm sure that shit was legit. He looks great, though. He's all huge and jacked and everything.
I mean, he was getting jacked before he got hurt.
I looked at their social media, and Ortiz has been like Instagram storying some like old pictures of them because people seem to be happy that they're like back together.
Yeah.
But like Santana, as of, I don't know, a couple hours ago anyways, a whole lot of nothing beyond, fan video of, oh, wow, they're back together and this is really cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know what any of that means. I saw somebody clowning Santana because they said he looks like Bo Dallas. And Ortiz responded to that and said, oh, my God, I totally see it. I'm not sure if that's something that he would say if he was on good. So you look at the entire landscape of this and it's like, okay, what's going on here? I don't know. I'll believe when I see it. Get one hug.
I know.
And I'll believe
five.
A high five. Eye contact.
Yes. Yes. An acknowledgement of the other.
Yeah, acknowledging the other person exists would be nice. We got a couple memberships here. All-Star
cool.
AB is a new channel member.
Thank you.
The Cheese Man, Patrick Cheese Man, is re-up for 3 months, says the last 3 months have been life-changing for me, and I firmly believe becoming a member has had a positive impact. That's so cool. We're changing lives here, man.
I guess so. We've accomplished a lot in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. And, of course, the Big Blue Predictions week of champions. Well, not weekend, week of champions. We've got All In this weekend. We've got Payback next weekend, and also next weekend, All Out. A lot of wrestling, a lot of predictions. Big Blue is going to be on the line. We've got Flannelly Dan, the Money in the Bank winner, waiting to cash in at the right moment. We've got and Larson, the G1 predictions champion, waiting for the perfect moment to cash in. Will he cash in on Flannelly Dan's cash in? Will Flannelly Dan cash in on Larson's cash in?
Who knows? There could be a cash in on a cash in.
You could participate by clicking join right here at youtube.com/Steven Larson or going to patreon.com/Steven Larson and going with the $5 membership tier. And you can get in on this. It's not too late.
Indeed. Indeed. Hey, while we're on talking YouTube, hey, if you're watching here live, VOD, regardless, if you could hit that like button. It's one that looks like this. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Please. I mean, how many people we got watching right now?
441.
438. If every one of you liked this video right now, in theory, we'd have 438 likes, and that'd be great.
Oh, man, we would do, huge.
That'd be awesome. This video would do wonderfully if that were the case.
1 million views if we get to that.
Million views, exactly. We want a million view video.
I want to, dude, just one at least. We used to have them all
one,
the time
please.
at Machinima.
So after that, we got a Sammy Guevara interview, or so we thought.
Sammy Guevara.
Instead, he's interrupted by 2.0, Parker Menard, Daniel Garcia. And Menard's like, to Sammy, what are you doing? You heard Jericho. He accepted their offer. The only reason things went south because of that stupid painting. Don Callis is exactly who we thought he was. And Sammy's like, yeah, but Chris is my friend. I've known him since day one of Dynamite. We've had our ups and downs, and I don't agree with everything he does, but he's blinded by friendship. Sometimes friendship does that to you. He's known him, Don, for 30 years. When your friends are in the wrong, that's when we need to be with them even more. I told Chris I'd always have his back. Parker says, all right, understand, as your friend, we're trying to make sure you don't make the same mistake that Chris did, being blinded by friendship, because look at the trend here. It's always Sammy who's there for his friend, right? But when it comes down to it, is your friend going to be there for you? Just something to think about. So Parker and Menard walk off. Garcia just glares at Sammy for a little bit, and then he walks off too.
Yep. Do you want to know what makes my nipples hard? Chris Jericho and Will Ospreay contract signing.
Steve, are you gonna do your Will Ospreay impression for this whole thing?
Yeah, but can I do it in the style of Joe Coffey?
Sure.
Purple. We've got to wear purple now. I wear green. My kit's green.
My kit.
Kit's it's my favorite word for
it.
For a
it's
soccer
pretty great
uniform,
for a uniform.
Yeah.
So we had the contract signing. Shivani's in the ring. Ospreay comes to the ring first, joined by Don Callis. Jericho joined by Sammy Guevara. Shivani kicks things off. Callis gets the mic. He's getting drowned out by boos. But he says, everyone wants to know why I did what I did last week. It's real simple. It can be summed up in 4 words. Will by God Ospreay. I realized the only thing better for me than having Chris Jericho and the Don Callis family is if I can play a part in ending the career of the greatest of all time. I had to make an offer to this man that no one else could. You know what I offer him? Your head on a platter at Wembley. So yeah, I threw away 34 years of friendship. I chose money and power over our friendship. I chose Will Ospreay over you. So Chris, it occurs to me that a couple of years ago you nearly died in England. Well, Chris, this Sunday I'm going to be there in Ospreay's corner to make sure that job gets done once and for all.
So Will grabs Mike and says, Chris, you actually taking this match seriously? Or is it some sort of vanity project you could say your band performed at Wembley Stadium, bruv? Do you understand what Stadium Stable is? It's the biggest venue in the UK. This match is going to change my life, bruv. I've got a Mrs. Somewhere for your stepson. Oh, he's a stepdad. That's so nice. There's some news for you, bruv. The day before I wrestle Chris Jericho, I'm doing an indie. So I'm trying to get as much money together to put my kid through school, bruv. This match changes my life, bruv. After this, I beat you wrestling beast of it. I'm be the only man to say I've beaten Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada, and Chris Jericho in 2 months. And that goes very well in 6 months' time because my contract comes up for New Japan. Sorry, I'm off the rails. And he says, and who's going to pay millions and millions of dollars for Will Ospreay? Because I know I'm the best wrestler in the world. I'm better than the Elite. I'm better than Danielson. I'm better than Punk, and I'm better than you. He says, all your accomplishments, all your championships and legacy, I respect it all. But it's rocket fuel for me, my future, bruv. And he signs the contract.
Some good intensity here from Will Ospreay.
Oh, dude, I loved this. Man, I love a good Will Ospreay promo, man. I think he is so awesome. Yeah, I think he's rad. I'm really curious to know because if I talked about this before. If you go back, 2 dudes who had parallel career paths early on, him and Ricochet. Mm-hmm. And Ricochet went to the WWE, and Will Ospreay stayed where he was, and or went to New Japan, anyways, and focused on building his character into like a faction leader guy, into like a franchise piece. Mm-hmm. I wonder if Ricochet would have had that same character stuff, or if he just would have been sort of the same Ricochet we have now, which is just fine. But it's great to see somebody develop their character so much.
It really is. After that, Chris Jericho takes his jacket off, hands it to Sammy. and says, well, let's talk about your future, Will. And he tells a story about, he says, congratulations, all the things you've done. But he said, if you remember, 5 years ago, I called you up and said to you, if you don't change your style, you're going to end up in a wheelchair before you turn 30, just like your hero Dynamite Kid, because you're being too reckless.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, you'll never have the longevity of Chris Jericho if you don't change things up. And look where we are now. 5 years later, you and me at Wembley. And he mentions that match is supposed to happen at Tokyo Dome in 2021 before the lockdown. He says, now there's no lockdown. And he says, this is the biggest show of my career, more so than Mania, more so than Tokyo Dome, more so than anything. This match means more to me than it does anyone else, because you're coming at this from the bottom. I'm coming at this from the top of the mountain with everybody trying to knock me off, trying to predict my demise. That means I have to be the best Chris Jericho I've ever been to beat you, Will Ospreay. But in return, you have to be the best Will Ospreay you've ever been to beat me. So Jericho signs a contract, says, so prove it to me, Ospreay. Prove it to your family at Wembley sitting in the front row. Prove it to them that you could beat Chris Jericho. And don't make me regret picking up the phone and calling you 5 years ago. And don't make me regret that I kept you out of a wheelchair.
Ooh, yeah.
And so Ospreay smacks the mic out of his hand, and they kind of start pushing a little bit, and security separates them.
I like this a lot, man. I thought it was really good. Jericho, he Jericho always finds the story within everything. He really does. And yeah, I appreciate that.
Yep.
After that, we had this Adam Cole interview. Renee had to take more heat from another wrestler. She asked him about his relationship with MJF, get a video recap of a bunch of their hijinks. He says, it's so bizarre because never in a million years would you think that a guy like Adam Cole, baby, and a guy like MJF would not only get along, but become best friends. He says, I think the world of him professionally, and obviously we've had a ton of fun together. But the thing I appreciate the most about Max is that he helped me find myself again. He says, I haven't really talked about this, but when I came back from my injury, my confidence was at an all-time low. This relationship with Max, he's reminded me who the real Adam Cole is, and I'll love him forever for that, because the real Adam Cole's a son of a bitch.
Oh, yes.
So then Renee asks, what would it mean for you to become AEW champ? He says, when I got into pro wrestling, I got into it never with the intention of just being a wrestler. I got into it with the intention of being best wrestler. So I've won championships all over the globe, but the AEW title solidifies you as being best pro wrestler on planet Earth. So this match is everything. I don't want to win the match. I need to win the match, and I will. And then she brings up Roderick Strong and the Kingdom, throws to a recap video, asks how he feels when people question his relationship with MJF, and he gets hot. He gets pissed.
Yeah, he gets upset.
He says, I'm done. I can't understand how people find it so hard to process that two people can be friends. Is it that hard? Is it that hard? I'm going to say this one time only. There are no issues with me and Max. None. Thank you, Renee. You lose, sir.
You lose, sir.
Yeah, he storms off.
You stole a fizzy lifting drink.
Yeah.
After that, we got Darby Allin, Nick Wayne taking on Swerve and AR Fox tornado tag match. This match was awesome. So much fun.
Oh, man, this was so much fun. This was brutal, too, man. Darby's crazy.
It was. Double cutter off the apron or off the second rope to the floor by Nick Wayne. I have never seen this before. We've seen AR Fox do the kind of springboard Spanish fly off the top, where he bounces up but like sits on the top rope.
Yeah.
He did it to Nick Wayne, but instead of a Spanish fly, has a German suplex.
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah.
That was nuts.
I had to watch that a couple times. That was awesome.
Absolutely nuts. So towards the end, AR Fox is giving Nick Wayne like all his best stuff. And Nick Wayne keeps kicking out Swervey and hits him with a house call.
Yeah.
So finally, it seems like Wayne's on the verge of being beat. So Swerve's like, hey, AR Fox, go do a 450. So Fox goes to the top rope, and Swerve's posing the camera. He thinks this match is done, over. Problem is, Nick Wayne gets out of the way of the 450, rolls up AR Fox, and by the time Swerve turns around and realizes what's happening, Darby has come to and is holding on to his foot, so he can't break up the pin. So Darby and Nick Wayne win.
Yeah.
So they get out of the ring right away. So Prince Nana hands Swerve a mic, and he's laughing. He says, oh, this is so disappointing. By disappointing, I mean you, Fox.
Ooh.
How come every time you get an opportunity of a lifetime, you blow it? I tried. Why are you such a loser, Fox?
Oh.
Little did you know this was a test for you. You can't beat an 18-year-old child that I wipe the floor with. I can't trust you. I can't trust you in this match. I damn sure can't trust you in front of 80,000 at Wembley. Nana, he says, Nana, handle the rest of this. And so he hands Nana the mic, and Nana fires AR Fox to the Mogul Embassy.
Hold on one second. But while he was laying into Fox, Nana was getting really close to him, and Swerve pushed him away and said, get out of my way. Just treating him like shit. And then he hands the mic back over to him and says, handle my work. Yeah.
So Brian Cage gets in the ring, hits AR Fox with the drill claw, and then Darby, Sting, and Nick Wayne come in the ring, chase off Swerve, Cage, and Nana. So Darby grabs the mic and says, AR Fox, I wouldn't be here now if it wasn't for you. You changed my life. No matter what you did to me, he says. I'm always going to credit you for helping me make it here. Take my hand. So Darby helps him up. And he says to Fox, I love you, and gives him a hug. And then Darby turns to Swerve and says, Swerve, you're stupider than I thought. 80,000 fans at Wembley. What are you going to do? Who do you got? And Swerve and Nana are just laughing on the ramp. And then no music.
Yeah.
Christian Luchasaurus. You just hear like a murmur from the crowd, and the camera kind of pans over, and you see them walk out. And so Christian stands next to Swerve and says, you guys shouldn't look so surprised. The true greats are always 2 steps ahead. Ain't that right, Sting? Sting's gullible. He says, Darby and Sting, you going to introduce me to your friend? I think I know who this guy is. I heard a lot about you, Nick Wayne. It's nice to meet you in person finally. I've heard a lot about you. I've heard a lot about your story. I understand you have a father, and your father is dead.
Oh, Christian, that one hurts, man.
I also understand that your father was a pro wrestler. Well, I've never heard of your father, Buddy Wayne, before, so he must not have been very good.
Oh.
The good news for you, Nick, is that since your father was such a talentless hack, you don't have a lot to live up to. If I were you, I'd steer clear of Wembley Stadium this Sunday because I'd hate for you to have deja vu. Gosh, this was harsh.
Yeah.
And watch that coffin door close on someone you love for the second time in your young life. Oof. But hey, Nick, if you play your cards right, kid, I'll be there to mentor you when it's all over because we all know that every fatherless child needs a true mentor, and there's no better mentor than the TNT champ.
Oh, oof. That's rough, man. That's
oof.
Rough. That was pretty good stuff, though.
Oof.
I mean, it is kind of clever that that's his gimmick. I know. He finds the people who don't have dads. It's so wrong. It is so wrong.
It really is.
Anyways, it's pretty fucking entertaining, though. So after that, we had this FTR Young Bucks interview.
This was kind of spinning its wheels till the end.
Yeah, it was. I know. I mean, dude, name a Young Bucks or FTR interview that doesn't simply spin its wheels. Like, they never really say anything.
The Young Bucks are heels, and Nick Jackson's like Kong like a crow.
Okay, that is true. When they're good guys and they're all like overly sincere, it's just...
Oh, it's boring, yeah.
It's so boring. So Renee says it's been 2 weeks in a row now that FTR has saved the Bucks. And Bang Bang Gang, Cash says, don't think it's because we're pals or buddies, because we need to know who's better. No excuses. And Renee says, if this feels like the biggest match of your careers. And Matt says, when we did the first All In, it seemed impossible to do 10,000 people in an arena. And here we are 8 times over, and it's unbelievable. Biggest match of our career, understatement of the century. And Nick says, we don't need to win this match. These guys need to beat us so that their legacies are seated at the top. And Cash says, we need to beat you. This is the biggest match of our careers. And to go into it as the AEW tag champs against arguably our top competition. Yeah, a lot on this one. And then Dax says, business is good for AEW, but this goes far beyond business. It's personal to us. I got family. And then Renee says, well, what is this match about for you guys for FTR? And Dax says, about the titles. Because if you're a champ, you can claim to be the best tag team in the world, but I think it goes far beyond titles, okay? It's about legacy. Feed my family. The only tag team that stands in our way is you guys. And on Monday morning, I don't want to wake up to explain to my family that I lost because they're going to be able to eat. And then Matt interrupts. He says, all right, we get it. Every week it's about how I feed my family. It's about legacy. He says, I'd like to remind you, because I think a lot of people, including you two, have forgotten. How do you feed your daughter? And Dax says, don't talk about my daughter. And then he says, remember, we're the reason you have jobs here, that you get to wrestle every week on TV. And legacy, you want to talk about legacy, it's about to get awkward, but this is the truth. Someday when it's all said and done and we decide to hang up our sneakers, you know what? People are going to say, what people are going to say about the Young Bucks? They're going to say that's the best tag team that's ever competed in pro wrestling. You know what they're going to say about FTR? They're going to say those are the guys the Young Bucks named on their YouTube show, and that's the truth.
Woo!
And the Dax says, oh, you guys had to jump on her name. All right. Oh.
Yeah, that seemed to rattle Dax a little bit.
It did, yeah. He says, on our popularity, insult us because you want to be on our level. But here's the thing. In front of 80,000 people, we'll make you guys. You tell us every week, every time you get an opportunity, you guys are the foundation. Well, we're the foundation here. And now we're going to crack your foundation in front of 80,000 people.
Dax is pretty good.
Yeah, it's getting pretty good. Yeah, that was a pretty good burn there. I had totally forgot that FTR got their name on being the elite. But,
Yep.
Anyways.
After that, we got a video package hyping up the 4 competitors in the AEW Women's Title match at All In a tag match. You got Britt and Sheeta taking on Toni Storm and Saraya. And then we got Ruby Soho taking on Sky Blue. They both had picture-in-picture promos before the match. Ruby says, I got 2 of my best friends in the AEW Women's Title match at Wembley. That's not the only title, though, I have my sights set on. Chris Statlander, I'm looking at you in that TBS title. And then Sky Blue says, last week we won. Sheeta and I beat you guys. Main event of Rampage, and then you took your frustrations out of me. This week I'm going to take my frustrations out on you. Sky Blue tried. However, Ruby gets the win here. No Future follows with Destination Unknown to get the W.
Correct. Yeah.
Still really strange they didn't have Ruby in one of the qualifiers for this 4-way.
Yeah, dude. They just give the bare minimum amount of effort.
It seems like it.
Like, what is this? Yeah, I mean, they did a video package for the women's title, but there was no big, angle before it. I mean, we got to see Tony run out and give Ruby a little pep talk and a kiss on the forehead. Oh, Tony's so great these days.
Oh, she is. She's doing amazing work.
But yeah, I mean, there was no stakes here for anything that was happening at Wembley. No. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Bare minimum, dude.
Yeah.
Not even that most weeks.
Nope. We got a quick Roderick Strong Kingdom interview. So Renee asked Roddy about Cole and MJF's friendship, and he just says, "This is what I know. At the end of All In, we're going to find out who the real MJF is and who the real Adam Cole is."
That really gives us no info, but they are totally aligning with one of them.
Yes, 1,000%.
So either Roderick is really pissed off at Adam Cole and he's going to join up with MJF, or, and this makes so much more sense, Cole joins and they form the undisputed, somebody here in chat, the Undisputed Kingdom.
Yeah.
Because they're in the UK.
That's true. Then we got a video package that seemed to kind of, if it's not the same one, they ran a collision with Malachi's voiceover. They reused basically the entire promo, talk about Billy Gunn's retirement. Then the Acclaim come to the ring. No music. They just come to the ring and say, "Hey, House of Black, let's fight. Get out here." So the lights come down. They come out and they start beating up the Acclaimed. And Brody's about to blast Bowens with a piece of chain wrapped around his fist. And then Daddy Ass comes to the ring. Mm-hmm. So House of Black, they flee. So Billy checks on Bowens and Caster picks up the mic and says, "Hold on for just a second. You won my attention. Well, now you got it. So let me try to explain to you what you've done. You see, a couple of weeks ago after you beat me for the second time, I unlaced my boots and did the 2 hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. 1, walk out on Max and Anthony. And 2, leave behind a really good career. And I was okay with that until last week when you jumped Max and Anthony. You busted Max open. You hurt one of my kids. Oh. But that wasn't good enough. Then you took my boots and destroyed them. You tried to destroy a legacy that has taken me 32 years to build. I've done stuff in this business that will go down in wrestling history. I am a Hall of Famer, and you just pissed all over it. So for that, one more time, it's all or nothing. All in front of 80,000 people. Look in my eyes. I take everything from you because it all in is the House of Black against the Acclaimed. Unfortunately, that fun-loving Daddy Ass can't make the trip, but there is a guy I thought we'd never see again. I guarantee you wish you'd never seen him. There's a badass coming to London. His name is the one Billy Gunn." Oh, you didn't know?
Did he have his own theme? I mean, the Ass Man had his own awesome theme song.
He's an ass man.
Did the one have a different theme song?
I would imagine, because they kind of dropped the whole ass thing from the one Billy Gunn.
They did. But then when was Badass Billy Gunn was just part of the New Age Outlaws, right?
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, you didn't know?
Dun, 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 dun.
Your ass better call somebody.
Yeah.
And then he would just talk. And then we had, the Acclaim are totally winning that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Did you see, they did this great, what's Brody's band, God's Hate?
Yeah.
They're promoting some new shorts. And I'm going to send this shit to you, but him, Malachi, and Zicky Dice did this hilarious, commercial for their new shorts.
Oh, wow.
On Malachi's Instagram. It's kind of hilarious.
That's pretty great.
Anyways, main event was the Hardys versus Aussie Open. Oi, oi, oi. And this sort of ended with the angle with MJF and Cole. Aussie Open hits the Aussie Arrow on Jeff Hardy to get the win here over the Hardys. And then Mark Davis grabs a mic, tells the crowd to shut up. And then Kyle Fletcher says, Wembley Stadium, there will be no double clothesline, no kangaroo kick, and Aussie Open will still be your Ring of Honor tag champs, baby. They pose in the ring, and then MJF, Cole get to the ring. They get in their faces. Big brawl breaks out. Aussie Open gets the upper hand, set up for a double clothesline on Cole. MJF and Cole fight back. They call for a double clothesline. Davis escapes that. MJF calls for a kangaroo kick on Fletcher. Davis hits him in the back. Cole super kicks him off the apron. MJF saves Cole from a forearm from Fletcher. And then Cole tells MJF to hold him up for a super kick, which he does. But then Fletcher gets out of the way, and MJF catches Cole's super kick, and they sort of get in each other's face. MJF holds up the AEW title. Cole offers his hand. MJF walks past him and bumps Cole's shoulder, but stops shy of leaving the actual ring. And then MJF puts on the Dynamite diamond ring and puts it back in his pocket. And then they hug, and he poses in the corner with his AEW championship.
Yep.
So, a lot going on there.
Indeed, a lot going on.
Oh, you didn't know?
Do you want to answer some questions, Steve?
Let's answer some questions.
Let's do it.
First question comes to you from...
Alex Foster says, if you guys were in a room with Tony Khan, what would you honestly tell him?
If I was in the room with Tony Khan, what would I tell him?
I guess it depends on first of all, is it like one of us or both of us and just him in the room, or is this like a media scrum type deal?
Is this like the thing that EC3's promotion used to do?
Oh, yeah.
The rant room?
Rant room, yes. If it's
a rant room, rant room situation?
Then you just air grievances, right?
That sounds so awkward.
It does.
That sounds really awkward. I don't know what I'd tell him. I'd ask him, I'd be like, hey, man.
What is it going to take to get a second women's match on Dynamite?
Be like, you're living the dream of all of us marks, of all of us wrestling fans. So maybe, push women's wrestling and, feature more black wrestlers on your program. What do you think about that?
That's a great start.
Steve, let me tell you something here. There's a lot going on. I got a notebook, and I'm working on it all.
Well, here, write what I just told you, Tony. Write that in your notebook.
You can write that on your notebook.
The very top. Bold. Yeah. Circle it. Yeah. Make it a point of emphasis. Priority.
Or, Zondo just says, can I have $10,000? Yeah, I would just be like, hey, Tony, you're a billionaire. $10,000 is like 10 cents to you. Can I have it? May I have money, please?
Have it, please.
Can I have it? May I have it, please?
Right now?
And if he says no, I'd be like, please? I'd be like, come on. Come on. This is $10,000. It means a lot to me.
DJ Fluffy says, do you see All In being a yearly event after the success? If so, do you think AEW has the steam continue to book the shows at the stadium, or is this just a flash in the pan? It's a special set of circumstances that allow them to sell 80,000 tickets here. Could they do that on an annual basis? Absolutely not. No.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I don't think they could do it every year.
No, I don't think they can do it every year. I mean, if they do revive the All In brand for an annual show, please don't do it the week before All Out. Space that shit out a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Please.
Yeah.
Please. Blake Whitehouse is seeing how All Out is only 9 days away with only 2 matches being announced. What other matches do you see getting added to justify spending another $50 or less a week? We'll get Omega Takeshita. We'll get Mox and Orange Cassidy for the international title. I'm sure. Wouldn't be surprised when we get Punk and Ricky Starks for the real world championship. That's just 3 more, I guess. So that's 5 matches. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to double that up.
Did you already say Ruby Statlander for the TBS title?
No, that's another one.
Say Ruby Statlander.
That's interesting. That's going to be the TBS title match when you got Mercedes, Diamante, and then Willow involved in the whole thing with Statlander too.
Yeah, I don't know, but like, how cool would it be if like 2 out of the 3 outcasts had those titles and Tony Storm's on the outside looking in?
Yeah,
ooh.
I know.
Let's see here. Dave Matushek says, if the Stadium Stampede match had gone through with all 6 people per team, who do you think could have been another guy in the Blackpool Combat Club's match?
Zack Sabre Jr.
Zack Sabre Jr.
Mayor Planet Houston here says, will pay-per-view sales of All In and All Out suffer due to being a week apart and both costing full price? I think I saw something the other day. There's already 90,000 pre-buys for All In.
Okay. Do you think that's going to affect negatively All Out?
Depends on what's the card for All Out.
Yeah.
If they load up the card for All Out, then I don't think so.
You know,
but maybe.
I'll be honest with you. I kind of wonder if it's going to have the opposite effect. If like, oh, All In, man, this is a big deal. This is history being made. Now I'm jazzed for All Out. If All In lays like a giant creative turd, if it's a terrible show, then maybe that'll affect All Out. But I get the feeling that, you know, if you simply end that broadcast with Adam Cole doing Bebe with the title, that's going to sell All Out tickets or pay-per-view buys. I honestly believe that.
Because it makes you wonder what's next. What's going to happen next?
It might be a good promotional tool, you know?
Yeah.
Jonathan Vieira says, what wrestlers would you say give the same vibe as each other? So like 2 wrestlers that give the same vibe as each other? Like Ryback and the Ultimate Warrior?
That's good. That's good. It's hard to do better than that one.
You like that?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
They do have similar vibes. Disc Golfing Goon says, if you guys could have 3 wrestlers in the world, any 3 wrestlers in the world show up for ACW, who would they be? Who would they put over? Or would you have them putting over current talent?
Roman Reigns. He puts over Magnum AD.
Okay.
Bobby Lashley puts over Alphazo.
Okay.
And
CM Punk puts over
Christina Von Eerie.
Good.
Yeah, that's a good one, actually.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's see here. Oh, wow. Oh, man. This is a rough one. I don't know about this one. Narc says, what's the worst thing one of you guys could do to the other and still be forgiven 2 weeks later?
I feel like I did that when I farted next to you while you were making a hamburger.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 weeks where I was kind of salty about that. So I'd just say that.
Yeah.
That, you know. Maybe if Hilton makes fun of you and I laugh, I feel like that's probably 2 weeks and then you'll be okay. But you'd probably be kind of salty with me.
White Brownie has a good one. Steve coughed. You coughed on me. Steve gave me COVID, maybe.
I don't think you forgive me for that one. I don't think.
How long has it been?
It's been 3-4 years, something like that. Yeah,
it might take another 3+ years for that one.
I don't think you forget. I didn't know I had COVID, man.
We still don't know that you did, though.
I did. That did no, man. That shit was different. That hit different.
Oh, it did hit different. No, I agree. That was weird. I've never had another illness like that before or since.
That shit was COVID. I guarantee we had the OG strain, man. Oh my god.
Entirely possible.
Yeah, that was horrible.
That was horrible.
Let's see here. Patrick Cheeseman says, what's the worst possible outcome for the world title matches at Wembley? The worst possible outcome.
I guess the least interesting outcome if it's just MJF with Dynamite Diamond Ring cheats to win. And that's it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be boring. That'd be boring.
Because it wouldn't really feel like that's advancing the story.
Mm-hmm. So let's see here. Strife says, who's going to be put in the casket on Sunday? Christian will, because he'll cut the best promo about having to be put in the coffin.
Mm-hmm. And also, given what he said to Nick Wayne, it would make a lot of sense for Nick Wayne to lead to him going in the coffin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Metal Pulse says, who's going to win FTR or the Young Bucks? Find out in our predictions video. It is available right now over there at Friendo Club Wrestling. Thanks, everybody, for... Ooh, careful with that hint right there. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
I did arm day. I was looking.
Oh, you're doing arm, just flexing there for us. You're putting on the gun show. I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till